Welcome to this deep dive into the twisted world of the Resident Evil universe. The Ganados villagers, once ordinary people, were transformed into savage killers under the influence of Las Plagas, a bioweapon created by a shadowy cult known as Los Iluminados. In this video, we will delve into the origins of Las Plagas, the science behind its effects on the human body, and the chilling story of how it was unleashed upon an unsuspecting rural community. So grab your weapons and get ready to face the horrors that await as we explore the sinister secrets behind the creation of the Ganados villagers. Las Plagas is a parasite that has been around for centuries. Its origins can be traced back to an ancient cult known as Los Iluminados, which was located in a remote part of Spain. Los Iluminados meaning the illuminated or enlightened ones. The inhabitants of this cult were obsessed with the idea of creating their own world order through enlightenment. They believed that they could achieve this by using Las Plagas. They were rumored to perform human sacrifice rituals and infect their worshippers and local populace with these mind-controlling parasites. While all this was going on, Salazar, a powerful Spanish nobleman generations ago, launched a ruthless religious campaign against the Los Iluminados due to their non-Christian beliefs and practices. He gathered a small army and slaughtered the cultists, sometimes tying and executing them, and also burning them at the stake to set an example. Any remaining plagas were sealed away to deep underground caves, and a fortress was constructed on top of it, and Salazar and his descendants served as castellans to ensure that the plagas would never break free again. Centuries later, the parasite was discovered by a Los Iluminados scientist named Osmond Sadler. Osmond Sadler is the prophet and leader of the cult, and he used his charisma to charm the current Castellan Ramon Salazar to his cause. Ramon Salazar was a vulnerable leader from the get-go. He was constantly sick as a child and isolated from the outside world like the rest of his domain, and all his close family had died. He was manipulated by Osmond Sadler to believing that his ancestors were sinners and to give up his Christian beliefs and join Los Iluminados. Using his power, wealth, and his renewed zeal to atone for his family's sins, Ramon Salazar helped Sadler hire a team of village laborers to excavate the fossilized plagas that appeared lifeless. Initially disappointed, they waited, and to their surprise, the parasites were still alive in the form of spores, and they began to take over the bodies and minds of the poor villagers. Realizing the potential of the parasites, Sadler set up a large military and research facility around the ruins and began experimenting with them. Over time, he utilized genetic engineering to create up to 3 new variants of the parasite. These include the recessive plagas, which we will focus on in this video. The recessive plagas take complete control of their host by attaching to their spines and nervous systems. Next, he created the master plaga, which gives the host the ability to transform at will and the power to command the recessive variants. Finally, the queen plaga is capable of laying eggs to infect new people via an injection. Sadler believed that he could use the plagas to control the minds of people and create a new world order, and Salazar was on board with this idea. Now let's talk about the Ganado villagers. We can find some clues on their history via the writings and drawings of Rodrigo, who was one of the villagers of Valdelobos. The village initially remains peaceful and culturally conservative, being less keen on using modern technology. They are described as being simple people, tending to their livestock and farms. The villagers maintain that they're in awe of the first Castellan. However, they do not have the same respect for the current one, Ramon Salazar. Then comes the Harvest Festival, where the villagers come together and dance and sing. However, something is amiss. Their priest and the chief of their village is unusually absent. Rodrigo brushes this off as important church business and continues with the celebrations. He is then approached by his brother, telling him that there will be an important sermon by Father Mendez on Sunday and for him to make sure he brings his family along. When they attend, they see a shadowy figure next to Mendez who gives a powerful sermon. This is Osmond Sadler, the prophet of Los Iluminados. Persuaded by him, the villagers are told to take part in a blood cleansing ritual, which will cleanse them of their sinful blood and have their souls saved. Unbeknownst to them, they are being injected with the eggs of the Las Plagas parasite. Those who refuse are forced to take the injection, and those who rebel are put to death in the village abattoir. Once injected by the parasite, the villagers are told the Los Iluminados version of their once-loved hero, the first Castellan. They are told that he was a jealous man, jealous of the cultist's power and righteousness, and these were the reasons why he persecuted them. The current Castellan Ramon Salazar is then reinterpreted as a redeemed figure, having helped revive the illuminated ones. Once every adult and child are injected with the parasite, they begin to feel very ill. Rodrigo describes his symptoms as painful headaches, which feels as if his head is being split open, his blood becoming hot, and his eyes bleeding. These are clear indications of the parasite attaching itself to his spinal cord and taking over his brain. All the children have seizures and convulsions and die as their bodies cannot handle the parasite. Interestingly, none of the adults feel any remorse. Rodrigo describes the villagers, including himself, as being emotionally emptied. He feels no remorse for the death of his daughter, who died in front of his eyes. The villagers are then told by Father Mendes to keep outsiders away from the village and to protect Osman Sadler with their lives. Their new aggressive nature interprets this as to kill anyone entering the village. This is a very tragic and dark story. We could see here that the villagers' trust in their chief and spiritual leader was betrayed. Father Mendes was enticed and tempted by Osman Sadler to betray his congregation. His motivations for aligning himself with Osman Sadler are not entirely clear, but there can be a variety of factors such as power, fear, or a genuine belief in Sadler's goals. Regardless, there are similarities here on the story of Jesus and the devil, but in this instance evil prevailed and the congregation was taken over by sinister parasites. Now let's talk about the effects of Las Plagas on the villagers. Las Plagas infects the host's body and takes over their nervous system. The parasite attaches itself to the spinal cord and begins to control the host's movements. This leads to a loss of free will and complete control over the host's actions. They also lose their ability for empathy, but they do interestingly have daily routines and the ability to speak words, unlike the zombies from the other Resident Evil series who seem to be mindless.
I was wondering if you might recognize a girl in this photograph?
¿Qué carajo estás haciendo aquí? ¡Lárgate, cabrón!
Sorry to have bothered.
The infected host also experiences an increase in strength, speed, and agility. This makes them extremely dangerous and difficult to kill. In addition, the host's body undergoes physical changes such as the growth of tentacle-like appendages and the ability to regenerate damaged tissue, but this is only seen when they take damage. Otherwise, they look like normal villagers getting on with their daily lives from a distance. Due to their subservience, they also have lost all ability to fear death and have an extremely high pain tolerance. That's why we can see that when Leon shoots them, they do not go down easily. It takes real effort and knowing where to shoot them to stop them from attacking. Another effect of Las Plagas is that it creates a hive mind. All infected hosts are connected to each other and they share a collective consciousness. This allows them to coordinate their movements and work together as a single unit. The parasite also makes them completely submissive to the control plaga, and in their case it was Father Mendes who they became subservient to. The recessive strain of the plaga parasite has 3 different stages of maturity. The first is the Godana stage, which is the earliest stage of the parasite's development. The translation of Godana from Spanish to English is scythe, alluding to the scythe-like tip of their tentacles which they lash violently at their enemies. As they are at the primary stage, they are the easiest to kill. Their fleshy pulsating exterior can be heavily damaged from bullets. They are most commonly found in villagers. The second stage is the mandibular stage, which is translated as mandible in English. In this stage, the parasite has grown substantially since the previous stage and its tentacles have formed mandible-like arms to grab a hold of victims and bite their heads. It can also spit acid, making it a very dangerous opponent. Keeping a safe distance is key. The third and final stage is the Arana stage. This is when the parasite becomes an adult. Arana meaning spider in Spanish. If you have a fear of spiders, you can stop watching here. They usually inhabit the higher ranking ganados such as the cultists and combatants. Aranas are the most durable of the lot. Like spiders, they do indeed have 8 elongated legs with sharp claws at their tips. They have big mouths with sharp spiky teeth and can also spit acid from a distance. They are extremely agile and can freakishly crawl along walls and ceilings with ease. They are so freaky and vile to look at. Unlike its less mature forms, the Aranas can break out of their host's body and latch onto another host and take control of them. Once they take control of a new host with their spindly tendrils, they make them move jerkily and erratically. This makes the host very dangerous and harder to hit. Despite this, Once they're exposed to the outside, they get weaker and will die if they don't find the host soon. They're also too big to re-enter a new host, therefore they remain outside the bodies of their new hosts while controlling them. This makes them easier to shoot. And that brings us to our conclusion. The Resident Evil universe presents a twisted world where bioweapons such as Las Plagas are created by shadowy cults like Los Illuminados to control and manipulate the minds of ordinary people, transforming them into savage killers. Through our deep dive, we learned about the origins of Las Plagas and the science behind its effects on the human body. We also uncovered the chilling story of how it was unleashed upon an unsuspecting rural community. They were once simple people, but under the influence of a parasite, they became mindless killers with no remorse, even for their own children. The Resident Evil universe continues to provide a terrifying look at the consequences of scientific experimentation and the dangers of unchecked power. As we prepare to face the horrors that await, we must remember the warning that Resident Evil presents. Sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones that look like us.